Alright folks, so let's have a look at an example here. Let's give this one a go. So again, I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video here and take a look at what's going on. Try to figure out here how to do this. And we'll go ahead and write the proof here together. So it looks like in this situation here, right, we have AE is congruent to AC. So I'm going to mark that. Or rather, that's my goal here. I don't know if they're congruent. Okay? Now, DC and DE are congruent, so let's mark that. 1. CDB is congruent to FDE, so here's another pair. So there's two single dots here, and BDA is congruent to FDA here, so that's a pair of double dots here. So I think the first thing we want to think about is, okay, considering that we want to show that AE is congruent to AC, what triangle are we going to focus on? It's pretty clear that there's only one pair of triangles to really focus on, and that's this one, right? So it looks like that we're going to focus on this triangle that I'll go ahead and outline here in red. So ADE here and ACE, this appears to be the great pair of triangles that we're going to focus on here, right? So I'm going to jot that down. So I want to show that triangle ADE is congruent to triangle ADE, ADC here. I apologize. I want to make sure I've got the right things here. And that's going to lead us to this, okay? So considering what we have, those two triangles outlined in red, well, it's not too hard to show, right? We note that in this situation here, I've got a pair of sides, which is great. I've got another pair of sides because these two triangles share a side, so that's another pair. And notice the included angles here as well, right? We just showed this using the addition postulate because we're adding pairs of congruent angles together. So now we have a plan, right? We look like this is going to be side angle side here. We can go ahead and put this together. So I'm going to go ahead and write this one out here, considering what we have. So our plan is set. Let's go ahead and write this one out. Okay? So we're going to use our statement reason table here. I'm going to use I'm going to write this one out so we can see it a little bit more. Okay? So let me go ahead and do this here. Alrighty. So knowing that I have to prove these two triangles congruent, okay, so we're going to have to put these things together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the side in. So CD is congruent to ED here. All right, and that's my first pair of sides, so I'm going to mention that, and that's a given here. I know I kind of put them in the reverse order, but that's okay. They're the same segment. Now we know that in this situation here, we're going to go ahead and add some angles together. So we're going to have to list the next two givens. So the next thing here is going to list CDB is congruent to FDE here. That's a given. And in this case here, we have BDA here, congruent to FDA. That's another given here. So, it's just pure coincidence that I'm listing all the givens at the beginning. It should still work out pretty well. So now we're just going to add together. So we're going to add steps 2 and 3 together, and we're going to use the addition postulate here. So I'm going to go ahead and write this out. This is going to be our addition postulate on steps 2 and 3 here. We're going to add those together. So now we can go ahead and put this one together. So we have angle CDB here plus, well, let's see, what are we adding? CDB and BDA here. That should be congruent to FDE here plus angle FDA. And then we can rewrite that, right? Because the sum is great, but now we want the actual angles themselves. And we can say angle CDA is congruent to angle EDA. And that's our pair of angles here, right? So notice that I'm citing this here. We can see that I have my citations like this, and I have my pair of angles like so. Okay? Let's continue here. And then step 5, we can just keep going like this here. Now I got my pair of angles, I got my pair of sides here. So we can now continue and say, all right, so let's keep going. We can use a pair of sides here. In this case, DA is going to be our last pair of sides. So DA is going to be congruent to DA here. That's a side. And this is our reflexive property. Right? That works out pretty well. And then as a result, now we can put everything together. So now our plan has come to fruition. We know that our initial plan was to show these two triangles congruent, and I've done that here. So let's go ahead and do this here. So in this case, I'm going to show triangle ADE congruent to triangle ADC here. And this is our side angle side postulate. And in this case, our side angle side postulate, we see that it's used 1, 4, and 5. So let me list that here. Okay, and then finally, we can finish this off here. We know that AE is congruent to AC. These are corresponding sides, so we can just go ahead and mention that here. So we have AC is congruent to AE here because corresponding side, or corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And again, notice that this usually follows directly as a result of a proving that two triangles are congruent here. And you can see our proof works out pretty well. So if you understand these, you're going to be in really, really good shape. And I don't think, you will be able to get through a lot of the rest of our this portion of our tour through geometry here once you understand this sort of stuff.